Good morning, Brother Bridgeforth. Yes, brother, we are live this morning. You know, it warms your heart when folks, you feel missed in there.
They wonder where you are.
Yeah. Usually the bill collector's wondering where you are. So it's nice when friends and family are looking for you. You know, on the family side, it could be the same
right way.
See, you knew where I was going. I was like, well, let me just back up a little bit on that family part.
I have a few that I don't want to look for me. You know what I mean? It's like, no, dog.
Exactly.
Don't do it.
Exactly. So like I said, it's been, the winding down. The FIFA is just about over. Thank goodness. We missed a lot of that being away. So I was kind of glad that, we got a little respite from the crowds.
Yeah. Just a kind of little feedback from the text or group text. Mm-hmm. Someone is saying that the audio is not on directly through the website. That's through Jamal Crawford. So
as well as Bridgeforth. He mentioned that as
can't hear you.
Can't hear
you. They just have to refresh it.
All right. Just want to make sure we get into it and people can actually hear us and stuff. So
they refreshed it.
So again, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen,
perfect.
Hit refresh.
There we go. Oh, call in.
Yes.
617-282-0685. That is 617-282-0685 is the number. Like I said, we are live in studio. Again, like I said, I don't even know where to begin this morning, but I guess we'll begin in the beginning. The violence.
13 people shot?
The 4th of July was 13 people shot in 6 hours.
In 6 hours?
6 hours. And 2 of them were homicides then. And since then, it's been an uptick. And it says, there you are. I can see the smallest smiling faces. Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah. That is kind of crazy. 13 people in 2 hours.
And that's
So I
in 2 hours or 4 hours?
In 6 hours.
6 hours.
People, yeah.
So I asked the question again. The way I asked before the show. I asked before the show started. If I were doing a research project on this, one of the questions I would have to look at is how many people who were shot comes from a 2-parent household.
Yeah.
And the shootings occurred between midnight and 4 a.m., with the largest incidents injuring 6 people on George Street.
Here it is.
Yeah, and that's on both sides of the equation, by the way.
Large gatherings of illegal firearms, alcohol consumptions, and multiple acts of gun violence, creating a dynamic and challenging environment for our first responders throughout the evening. Between the early hours of July 4th and this morning of July 5th, we had officers respond to 5 incidents of gunshot victims, including 13 in total, with 2 fatalities involving with those. And there were multiple other life-threatening injuries of those that we mentioned. Several of these incidents occurred as a result of large gathering of illegal fireworks, and public alcohol use, adding to the confusion in the situation as far as hazards concerned. The fireworks going off, where officers had to deal with that as well. While the overwhelming majority of the public, and particularly residents in Boston.
So that's just Police Commissioner Michael Cox. I don't want to seem like a critic here, but it's his delivery does not encourage, any type of safety or security that, things are, in there saying, the fireworks was a contributor to it. No, they help mask it, but they're definitely not contributing to it, because a lot of people across the state, across the country, even where I was, they were setting off fireworks and people weren't getting shot. So,
I want to be careful here, because as a former commander, I can understand his frustration, because police officers can only do so much, Larry. We both served. Yeah. We can only do so much. When we're there, we can act. When we're not there, it's impossible for us to act because we're just not present. A lot of this is also on the community. The community has to look at itself differently, and not buy into the fact that this guy that looks like me, with my skin tone, or my culture is my enemy. You know, and we have to do better as a community as well. So we both have to own the problem here. You know, yes, there could be better policing. Yes, there could be more policing, but the community plays a major role in this. How can we actually address the youth in the community and deal with the issue? And this is a question. This was the problem when we were on the force. It had been a problem before we got on the force. How do we deal with that?
No,
issue?
and I think I take your point, caller. We're going to get to you. I promise you in just 1 second. I'm listening to what you're saying, Dr. Bradley, dissecting it, and I think you're right. But here's my little take on it as well. Right? You're right. It's not having more police officers, right? Because just think, I live in a town where they just hosted FIFA, and we had more people in that town than we normally do, other than on a Sunday when the Patriots are playing. And no one got shot. And they have less police officers policing a larger portion of people. It is about control, but it is also about outreach in the community, and real outreach. Because I was saying to Pastor Hobbs before we got on the air, is that, you know, I bet Dr. Bradley didn't get a call to come and attend any of these meetings. Myself, people who've been outspoken about what works, right? Not just waiting for a problem and then we react to it, being proactive about what's going on. And then also along these lines, I read in the paper there as well, is that the current superintendent of Boston Public Schools, Skipper, has been working remotely all of last year from down the Cape.
Yes, that I definitely have heard.
Did you see that, Dr. Bradley?
No, I didn't see that.
So the superintendent of schools, as we're closing schools and everything's going on, laying off teachers who have to come in, the superintendent is MIA. And then when you get caught, she says, well, her husband, you know, needed to be near the salt water because he was recovering.
Well, how about the Boston Harbor? But I'm sorry.
That same water runs through the Cape that runs here, right? And you have a home.
Salt water. It's the Atlantic Ocean. But anyway, I got you. And you know, so there's a multitude of issues here that kind of culminate into the problem that we're having. But I think a lot of times we kind of miss the family and the community part of it. So that's why I asked the question. You know, in your neighborhood and in my neighborhood, most of those neighborhoods are comprising of two-parent households.
You're correct. Yeah.
You know,
and so you need it to pay the mortgage.
You got it exactly. You know, and so when you have that level of scrutiny and an attention to the child tends to be raised, not just grow. You know, and so I think a part of our problem is a constructive, destructive movement against the family, the black family. I don't know if I said that correctly, but that's how I feel.
Well, I think it's been noted since the 60s or even before then, with the policies with the welfare, in order to receive any government assistance, the husband could not be part of the family.
So social engineering. But
yes.
my point here is where I'm going. He's going where I'm trying to go.
Yeah.
Where I'm going here is that this is what happens when you socially engineer the parent. In particular, the disciplinarian in the family, the father, out of the family.
Okay.
I'm not saying that women can't not raise children. No. What I'm saying is that when you're dealing with a boy child, and I guarantee you most of those shooters were males. All right. When you're dealing with a boy child, you must have a man. In my opinion, now I know people are gonna push back on this. A man got to be a part of that raising, because sometimes a boy child needs to feel the strength of his father.
Well, you and just the biology, you need a man to help create that child. But I also want to say this, Dr. Bradley, because I think you would probably agree, as well as Rhodes and Pastor Hobbs, growing up, there was a sense of community, right? So I didn't grow up with this same time, and I grew up in these same neighborhoods, right? So what happened to that breakdown of that village concept?
But what happened here, I'm going to tell you what happened on this one here.
Okay, help me out.
Because I remember when I was a boy, my daddy and my mama both had to work. All right, my father worked in a brickyard in Augusta, Georgia. My mother worked at Fort Gordon, Georgia, pressing shirts. But when I act up, the men in that community tightened me up. Yeah. All right. And then I used to negotiate with them and say, please don't tell my dad.
Right. Because you know what's coming, right?
But this is the hit. My mother and my father did not go after them legally.
Mm-hmm.
They were. We're so.
They had permission.
They had permission. In fact, they were thanked. Thank you for actually catching Willie when he did not go to school.
Right.
Thank you for actually dealing with him when he did this or that.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so not only did my father get me, but his brothers got on me. And so you had a family, a community approach to raising our children. That's not
the village.
today.
It takes the village to raise a child.
But also that breakdown, like, but also, what does it say when you, like, the police department, when you see people like Marcus Eddings, the deputy superintendent, right, suing the Boston Police Department because he wanted to hold officers accountable for their behavior, and it's Eddie Crispin, the same thing, who's now retired. Eddie, good luck for getting to the finish line. He just recently retired. So
I sent you guys the invitation.
Yeah. So that in itself says there's a problem in there. But let's grab this call in here. What they have to say. Good morning, caller. Welcome back to the roundtable.
Good morning, y'all. It's Brother Jamal. I'm glad to see you now. Now the video is up and everything, so I can see you as well.
Okay, you see my tan?
You definitely see my tan.
Right.
I was trying to see if you could guess which one was me and which one was Dr. Bradley.
No. So now this is like one of them charts right here.
Well, yeah, you have then his brother Rhodes, who's a little, and then Dr. Bradley compiles it up.
This is like Home Depot when you go to pick out
what color blue you want.
But we all have bald heads.
Right. That's to throw you off.
Oh man. Hey, but so what y'all was just talking about the removal of the black male from the household.
Mm-hmm.
Well, first of all, one of the biggest programs that everybody has. What is it called? WIC? What is that stand
Women,
for?
Infant, and Children.
Mm-hmm.
Bang.
Right.
That says it all right there.
Right.
Okay. Women, infant, children. No man, period.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that was one. And then, of course, the Section 8 program as well,
Mm-hmm.
is another. So there were those things. But, as of recent, with the violence and everything else that's been going on, and the violence against the police officer and so on and so forth, I really don't like how people are throwing out some things. Like, I got into a little Facebook trouble because somebody said, so they shooting at police now. So
there was someone shot at the police here, or?
Oh, so y'all missed that too. Yeah.
Well, like I said, So
that just happened a couple days ago.
Okay.
Over here, by Devon and Normandy, in this area off of Blue Hill.
Okay.
They were trying to conduct a traffic stop. They did conduct a traffic stop, and at some point, the kid, well, I call them kids, 20 years old. Now that they have them, 20 years old. But I guess he got out and shot, and luckily did not hit anyone, and luckily they did not return fire and kill him. But his bullet hit the windshield of that cruiser. Right. But I mean, it was after the police was already out, after the officer was already out, type of thing. You know what I mean? But yeah, still, brazen, what have you. He tried to run away, and of course, as usually happens, they caught him, within a block or two. And once again, for a guy like me, who is a police reform guy, and all this type of thing, but people expect me to, like, what am I supposed to applaud these type of things? So, no, that's bad. But what I'm glad about in this situation is that craziness that ensued, both the person who did that and the officers involved, nobody got hit. Everybody went home that night.
Amen to that.
A little bit more traumatized.
Yeah, no, amen to that. No, and and I think that's a part of where you see officers aren't staying on the job as long. I could have stayed. I could still be working age wise as a police officer. Eddie Crispin, who just left, the deputy, he could have stayed a lot longer. It's just not beneficial. But before we go on, I just want to go back because what you were just talking about with the family dynamic is that the other thing I think that has been problematic too is that they have replaced, well, we don't need the dad as long as they don't need emotional support as long as they have the financial support. So we're more geared towards, child support enforcement than the enforcement of being a father, a parent to the child, because most of the time, if the child is left, it's usually with the mom. And there are dads who want to be involved in their life. So I'm not putting this blanket indictment on it, but the vast majority is that we don't need a dad as long as the money is coming into the house. The child support is coming in. That replaces the father. It doesn't.
No, it doesn't. It takes more than finance to raise a child.
Right. Yeah.
It takes a lot of... I'm sorry. Go on.
Good.
Go on.
No, I mean, and Dr. Bradley, because you're an excellent example. And not for nothing, you're an excellent example.
Yes.
But all of y'all are bad examples.
All of us.
Because what I'm saying is, it's a bad example if we're talking about these
mm-hmm.
homes that are broken
Mm-hmm.
or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
because y'all have, despite whatever
Mm-hmm.
life you've come from.
No, my father wasn't involved in my life. You're right. Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. But you created it. This is kind of a miracle that I've seen, where a lot of guys from my generation who did not have fathers all of a sudden became like the best fathers.
Well, to that point, Jamal, not to cut you off, because I mean just say, because I had a mentor, like Charlie Dickinson, who's the one who got me involved, and so we had surrogates that you really don't find today for young men, right. To emulate, like Dr. Bradley, right. Billy Sylvester,
that's right.
And
the thing is, I think today it's a lot harder to try to actually be a mentor to kids. Okay, so even if you do try to be a mentor, the peer pressure is so strong out there that you're first of all ridiculed for just even trying to talk to a child.
Well, I don't disagree on that. I think I think the opportunities to do it has changed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because when I was a kid, my mentors came directly from the community, the people that I met. Today, you probably get a better chance going through a grassroots organization that can point you to an individual that can actually be open to your mentorship.
But I think also, and Jamal and I have had in-depth conversations, is that, who do you entrust your child with?
Yeah, that's the issue.
Because there's a lot of people who turn that relationship into something that should not be.
Something very
nefarious.
Yes. Something nefarious and wicked. So you really have to be careful. But it happens, when you look at Randolph and Foxborough, not that I'm equating Randolph and Foxborough in the community. What I'm trying to find is the bedroom community where you have a family unit, which is a very basic base of society. When you tear down that foundational block, then the building is going to collapse. And so all those social programs to make the black man inept and drive the black woman towards another group. This is what's happening. This is the result of those programs.
Yes.
So how do we actually address those issues? That's how I think you should attack it. That's my opinion.
No, I think it's spot on. So Jamal, how do we, and gentlemen, help me out. How do we kind of move? Because, again, we go through these situations, unfortunately, of this spike of violence, because and that's why I always say, when the police department, when I hear them talking as if they have some solutions to these problems, when crime is down, that somehow they pulled out the magic pill and gave everybody a pill and now everything is safe. But then when these things spike, you say, well, what were you doing that was working and now it's no longer working? There is no solution. It's like when you tell people, oh, someone got murdered, and we said, well, hope this gives you closure. Don't tell people what closure looks like to them. I find it disrespectfully, honestly, is that we've solved the case.
Yeah, well,
and that's how we should look at this. So Jamal, how do we? Because I mean, it's like the usual suspects. I sound like they don't invite people like Dr. Bradley. You and I were talking about the whole thing with the Pulse and how we need to change that, because now that Eddie Crispin is retired, like when I retired, I had to step down from that position. And I think you're actually more effective. And we're saying, someone like Dr. Bradley, so who's retired, if they wanted, we should be able to be trying to find the best person to fill that void, rather than, because it's the only position on there that has a time limit, is you have to be active duty. And I don't think that makes any difference. But
that's a major loophole. And now, after seeing what has happened to Eddie Crispin, And even too, you could even say Marcus Eddy as well.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't think that any officer who
wants that
has,
job, right?
who's career minded would think that, wow, this what should be an honorary, you know what I mean,
a privilege and something that you want to do.
Right. This could now actually be a death knell.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And a career ender.
Yeah.
So now it's going to limit it in terms of talent and
motive in some cases.
Integrity, yes, of the action.
Yeah, because as we know too, it's not something where this is not like some sweet detail or something like this. There's no money, there's no gold.
You make more money doing a detail than being on the commission.
Exactly. So, it really kind of poisons the pool. But like for a guy like me, when we created all this, and then when something gets implemented, this is where you find out. It's like setting a boat to sail, and then you find out, oh, there's a leak over here.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a leak over here. And this is where, the loopholes had to be tied up. So, going back to the legislature or the decision makers on this, on how to increase the powers and the parameters.
Because each commissioner can serve up to 10 years on their, but you want someone who is more seasoned and experienced, and that's usually a veteran officer. And this just started. So if you're tapping into someone like Eddie or myself, we're on the tail end. We're probably not going to finish out the 10 years in the department. It doesn't mean that you can't finish the 10 years. And Eddie's in the same thing, a former president of MAMLEO, worked up in internal affairs. So he knew how the system worked. And I think he was more of a threat because he was in the middle of it. He knew the games that were being played. And that's why, he was also demoted, because he wouldn't play along.
Well, see, I think that the move to demote him because he is on or was on the commission, I don't know what the status is now, that shows where the Boston Police Department and other departments are as relates to working in conjunction with the commission to deal with officers who are abusing their authority.
Right. Well, the myth that first they said it was a conflict of interest, but then the Attorney General's office said there was no conflict of interest with him being on the command staff. And
how can it be unless the command staff is strictly against what the commission objective
is?
The
reason why that was they knew there was a myth because there is one spot that is designated for a chief of police, right? So there is someone in there who runs a whole department. So how can someone be part of this command staff not serving someone who runs a whole agency?
Just speaking fairly, clearly on this, the department doesn't want the commission. That's the bottom line.
Commissioner Cox has stated that numerous times.
And I don't think Boston is the only department that doesn't want the commission. But I think the commission and the state government need to make it very clear that you will have and you will work with, or you will not get
that
funding.
Has been the oversight. I have to tell you, and I'm going to
do.
grab this other call after that. During my tenure on the commission, Boston, not even the state police, was the only one that we got the pushback, the lack of reporting in the accurate way. They still continue to operate that we can do whatever we want to do. Everyone else was pretty much in compliance. Yes, exactly.
And I wonder why.
Because they think they can. Michael Cox has said publicly he doesn't care for it. He doesn't want oversight. It's not his choice. It's in the law now, and that's the part that he's not comforting.
So I think he feels like he's trumped
them. No. Let me process this. Yeah. So a law enforcement officer doesn't want to adhere and obey the law.
Right. Yes, but we want others to do so.
We want others to do it.
We do that every day on a regular basis with the general public. Let's grab this other call here with that. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the roundtable.
Yes, good morning, everyone. This is T. Michael from the People's Academy.
Good morning.
Good morning. I thought it was a long distance call. The People's Republic of China. Go ahead.
I wanted to add something that was really important to me. I wanted to point out that the biggest threat to democracy and the Black community is income inequality. And especially right now, I'm seeing a new an old pattern that they have replanted or re-engaged within the Black community is the tribalism among Black people. as a distraction to the wealth gap. And it's damaging and it's dangerous to the Black community. And that's something that really we as Black people need to focus on.
Well, I completely agree.
Just was re-engaged to disrupt and distract us from the wealth gap.
Well, I think part of T. Michael, I apologize, because when you were saying that, I was thinking about an article I just read also. I don't know if you guys saw it, where there's a $2 billion contract given to Congresswoman Presley's husband and John Barrows, who used to work for the city. They got $2 billion to erect this structure and this long-term lease on the property. And I'm thinking about how long T. Michael's been trying to raise funds for the People's Academy, and they just swoop in and give them $2 billion to play with. It just boggles your mind.
It does.
For those individuals who may be listening to what T. Michael said, I think T. Michael's directly on the point.
Yeah.
I will ask T. Michael to briefly explain what he means by tribalism. Just for those individuals who are listening. I could do it. I want to make sure that I'm on track with what he's thinking.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Bradley. Lately, I've been seeing that Black people fighting each other.
Oh, man.
You're from the Caribbean.
Mm-hmm.
You were born in America.
There you go.
You don't see Italian, Polish.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
No, because
Irish separating themselves, but like I said, they re-engage that virus in the Black community as a part of their distraction on the wealth gap and the income inequality, and we have fallen for it. And it's dangerous.
Yes, it is. Yes, I will. Again, that's one of the reasons why I advocate for financial literacy, and I tell people this all the time. It's about, it's not about how much you make; it's about how much you get to keep.
But that's not sexy.
No. But here's the thing that he's saying: that the whole tribalism, where they're like, okay, it's the immigrants, and I actually see Black people, folks. They're going. I'm like, you understand that these are Black folks just like you, and they're aiming and they're saying, oh, it's the immigrants. Oh yeah, it's those people that come. I'm like, no, it's not people that steal jobs. It's technology. All right, I do Uber and Lyft right now. Okay, do you know who the biggest investors are for driverless cars are?
No, I don't.
Uber and Lyft. They're literally planning on working us to death, and once they got the technology, they'll fire us all.
Oh,
okay. That's how capitalism works. They always want to get rid of labor costs. Labor cost is always the biggest expense for any operation they think. So the bottom line is, people, you've got to understand. It's like you've got to become self-sufficient and understand that your wealth is your personal responsibility. But if you don't take an active role and choice in making and generating wealth and becoming either an entrepreneur, a business owner, an investor, working for someone else is just a dead end. Like, you're never, like, the acronym job is just over broke. They give you enough money to get to work and come back to work, but they don't give you enough money to be like, F you, I don't want to work for you no more, I quit. No,
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Yes.
Let us all ask food for thought.
Okay.
Why is it that the People's Academy, which is a building trade component, which the building trade is $1 billion industry,
just here in Massachusetts,
support every other business, but not the one program that can create folks, put them on a path to generational wealth and opportunity?
But I think, T. Michael, that should be asked of that $2 billion that was just given to the Congresswoman's husband and Barrows, who are connected. I get it. But why they couldn't carve out $15-20 million or whatever the cost would be for the People's Academy to be erected out of a $2 billion fund? I mean, if you can find $2 billion, you can't find
15 million, 20 million out of that.
And that's going to help.
Yeah.
But it gets better than that. The Congresswoman called me over a year ago to tell me, oh, I got Benjamin Franklin Institute, $250K. But you got a great program, T. Michael. But I got them money. Think about that.
Well, you notice how they go there pretty much, not all of them, but some of them particularly, they go there poor and then they come out wealthy.
Well, that is the basis, I guess, of politicians. they get
enrich themselves.
They enrich themselves, but it's
Like the
so
Trumps.
well. It is interesting the fact that they're not supposed to purchase or buy stocks in certain companies, especially if they're overseeing them.
Right. So they just have their families. They're surrogates by it.
Brother, one of the problems that we have as a community is that we have been so well conditioned to accept
And hate each other.
that we are going to be the working class.
Mhm.
We are going to be those individuals that are just above broke.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We have been conditioned to do that. Now, our forefathers, generations before us, all right, accepted that. And they lived in apartments. Think about it. My parents, they rented.
Right.
They did not
Yeah.
own.
Yeah.
All right. And because they were in that mindset. The other mindset we have is that everything got to go directly to the bank. You know, that's
Yes.
only going to
Yeah.
give you,
0.00001%.
0.00001%.
Right.
We know
All
what
right.
they call that right there.
All right. And so we don't have that mindset where other people have, where money works for us.
Yes.
As opposed to us
Working for money. Yes.
And to that point, like my brother, he was he's now become a really big developer, and he was working at Water and Sewer, and at the age of 23, he got into real. He's like, I'm not doing this for the rest of my life, and he's done so much better independently, right? And I was kind of dibbling and dabbling. I still do, but if I had taken that path and just said, you know what, I'm gonna go full tilt with this.
No, you don't know where you would be right now. Exponential growth.
Right.
The idea again is people again.
I did a hybrid where he took the risk and invested in himself
yeah.
completely.
But see, but the thing is that we have been he's an abnormality, and when he can become the norm
Right.
among us, then we will find ourselves in a position where we can dictate exactly what we want to do and what we want government to do for us.
Okay, like again, just to kind of like the ether going in the room of like self-determination. So what happened to our friend Jaylen Brown?
He's a commodity, right? Yeah.
So he was talking about financial literacy, about empowering the neighborhood, and all of a sudden he's the one that had he was not injured. He performed, he was the MVP, but that's the one you traded.
Carried him, right? Well, because like I said, he was advocating for, but not even to that point. I'm going to get back to Jamal. I remember when I got my first summer job, right? Because when you said that, Dr. Bradley, what you were saying a minute ago, it resonated with me. My mom was like, oh, you save up some money, you get an apartment. And then I got my summer job. I ran down there to the bank. I put that check in there. I went back in 2 weeks. I thought I was going to be rich. I think I gained like 16 cents, right? But ever since I got into real estate and I've made deals, the reward has been so much better, so much better. But my mom always rented. And
again, like you said, the mindset. Yeah. And if you're indoctrinated in it, and you don't have
rent,
like
get a car,
but
everything that depreciates.
Let me ask you this question, because this is real. Do you think your daughter would rent?
No.
I know my daughter will not.
No.
I know my daughters. They do not. They don't even think about it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because
it's not an
what
investment.
they're thinking is like, well, how is that going to improve me?
Right.
That money is being burnt. Right. I am not going to be able to use that money. And the reason why they're doing that is because that's the mindset that I put in them. You see, but I come from a renting mindset.
Yes.
And so I looked at it to say, whoa, wait a second.
Well,
I'm not getting anything out of this.
Do you know the Monopoly game was actually called the Renter's Game? But the lady, what is Milton Bradley brought the rights from the lady that invented it, because the lady was showing you how renting is like like you're never going to win if you're a renter.
Yeah.
And so they took the game and turned it into Monopoly.
No, don't get me wrong, Larry. I'm not advocating against landlords.
No.
No.
Because ultimately you got to be on one side of this equation.
Yeah.
It works for me, so I'm not mad at you.
But my point here is that
I look forward to the first of the month.
If we're going to gain financial independence,
yes,
we have to move away from the rental mindset.
I agree,
yes,
because everybody used to look forward to the 1st and the 15th.
Yeah,
because that's when you got your check, either on the 1st or the 15th, right? So
and as it relates to tribalism, this is my hit, because I'm a historian. This is my hit. I want people to just Google the Nathan Bacon rebellion. All right,
Nathan Bacon.
I remember that.
Listen to this. The Bacon rebellion, I should say. The Bacon rebellion, BACON. All right, that rebellion was a rebellion where you had a group of people from different colors, different cultures come together against the government. And when that happened, I'm going back to 1676, 1677. But when that happened, when the rich actually addressed that issue, they realized that it was white, Europeans, blacks, Indians, all of them fighting against the establishment. They're like, oh, no, we can't let this happen. And that's when they put in that whole idea around white folks who don't become white until they get to America, by the way.
Yeah, because they're European.
European, they're culturally identified. They don't become white until they get to America.
Yeah.
You are better than these other people.
Yeah.
The Bacon Rebellion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was you trying to get Jamal to eat a BLT.
No, that's
Get it, Jamal.
A bacon rebellion happens somewhere in America all the time when Waffle House runs out.
I was saying. So Jamal, let's and we'll get back to T. Let's process what's been said here, because I know you're very good at that. I mean, and I've asked you this question numerous times, and I'm not putting a burden on you, but again, because I'm looking to try to see if we can come up with some commonality. How do we move forward? Because like Brother Rhodes and I and Eddie and Jeff and all that, Doctor, is that any Doctor? Because I can say Dr. Bradley and I, because there's almost like if you don't have a little tang in your voice or whatever, you're more likely to gravitate towards that person that looks like you in our culture, sadly, right? But if you people, Brother Rhodes and I shouldn't be as close as we are, according to people, and so we stay in our little silos. And the other side is benefiting.
Well, that's exactly it. Divide and conquer.
Yes.
That's literally what they want you to do. They don't want you to get together to actually realize they're the reason that everyone is suffering.
Yeah.
That the wealth inequality affects all of us.
Yeah.
But again, they're like, oh no. Like he said, they'll tell these people, oh, you're better than. They come over here and all of a sudden, oh no, you're better than these people. Okay, and then they have an hierarchy.
In the next group, they tell them the same lie.
He brings up a historical issue for me, not issue, but a point, where Dr. King was actually locked up in Birmingham, him and the Abernathy and all this movement for civil rights. So they're locked up in the Birmingham jail, and they're talking to the white police guard. Yeah. And so they asked him, it was like, do you think you're better? Let me ask you this question. How much money do you make? Well, I make about like $5 an hour. Can you put your kid in school? No, I can't. Well, how much, how far what type of, where do you shop? I shop at the lowest store. They were like, well, man, you should be here with us. We're fighting for equality.
Right. Because we're just fighting for the trash collectors.
Exactly. We're fighting for everybody.
So the thing is, well,
I like that.
That's one of the reasons I think that
join us.
Because well, the thing was like with JFK, one of the quotes that he said was rising tide lifts all ships. Yeah. So if you can improve the condition of the lowest and the poorest in the community, it doesn't automatically improve everyone's
rather
condition.
Than I forget the queen who said when they came to her and they said that the peasants have no flour to make bread.
She says, let them eat cake. And they're like, you don't understand. Well, obviously she was disconnected because she obviously had no clue
that you
to
need
save the flour for them. Yes, exactly.
Right. That's what we are. Yeah. So Jamal, again, and I'm gonna get back to T. How do we, or can we get out of this situation? Because even in these meetings, it's the usual suspects that are invited to participate. I don't know if you've been asked, but I don't even go anymore because it's a waste of time. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. So what I believe we have to do, and what kind of this radio show is kind of a beacon of, is that the organizing and the coming together is going to come from those with like minds, right? Because at the end of the day, this concept of a larger unity or whatever, it's just not going to happen. There are too many people out there who are stuck on stupid.
Yeah. So,
like, talk about tribalism. There are black people who say, they are not from Africa in any way, shape, or form. They don't want to be associated with Africa in any way, shape, or form. They are Scandinavian. I don't know where they are.
Okay.
but it
Jamal.
ain't happening. You did.
Yeah. So Jamal, let me just, because I'm listening to what you're saying, man, and it is resonating so much, because a part of that, right, is that people, when you talked about like what we're doing here, right, they don't want to hear from, because if you don't have a fancy title, right, I remember someone telling me in the leadership, that there'll never be another Billy Celester, right? And I knew exactly what they were talking about, because Billy Celester was a superintendent. He was a most powerful black person in leadership in the police department. And he was put there because of the advocacy from the community and from the MAMLEO membership, right? Mm-hmm. Because they wanted someone who was going to be looking out for their interests. And when they said that, what they're saying is that we will pick people for leadership, but they will have to be silent. And then if you get people like a Marcus Eddings or Eddie Crispin, and even a Dr. Bradley, when he went through what he went through, we will quickly remove them because they don't fit the status quo of you're just here to get your pension, to be seen and not heard, And so how do we get there, Jamal? Because we are afraid to ask for what we really need, not what they want us to have, as to saying, no, you can put that person in there, but don't expect our support for someone who doesn't support. Because like I said, I grew up with Commissioner Cox, and we've had this conversation. I remember going back, Dr. Bradley, like, give him a chance. I said, I already have. I grew up with him. I can tell you what you're going to get. The condescending approach he has to black people, like in his mind, in my opinion, is that these people bring this on themselves. We just clean up the mess like we're in the grocery store. Clean up on aisle 7, clean up on Humboldt Ave, clean up on Castlegate. That's what we do. But
so he's not a problem solver. He's not
invested.
No, he's not a problem solver.
I'm not invested.
No.
Even when he's talking, he's reading from paper and he's like, oh, that doesn't even make sense. Yeah. I mean, you think about it. The people that surround him don't look like us. His inner core circle, for the most part, other than one person, and the number 2 guy, Nicole Tabb, Mary Ellen Burns, who's his media. She's in media. You ever see her out there talking in the community?
No. Well, the thing is, again, what's really disappointing is the fact that knowing the fact of the history that he had with the Boston police, how he was mistreated and left almost for dead. I'm thinking that he is being the one that could, spearhead reform.
To your point. If he had been a criminal, as they claimed they were chasing,
he would have been dead.
He would have gotten medical attention. Because they would have picked him up and brushed him off and said, and it could have been a lie, that he was resisting arrest. But when they looked and saw he's a police, so how are we going to fabricate that he was fighting with us and we beat him because we think we can? So we got to leave him here and everybody run away. He would have gotten medical attention had he been a criminal. But the lie wouldn't set, so that you decided to say, okay, well, this is not a one of.
And but I heard that the thing that I think is like, to add insult to injury was the fact that he had to recently pin one of those officers that was
he made him a lieutenant. The one who had lost his job, but they fought and got him
back and reappointed.
Went to the president. He had been fired and convicted, and they said, nope, that won't stand.
With the president of the union?
No, the president of the United States.
Oh, Donald Trump. Oh.
No, it wasn't Trump. This was going back. I think Clinton was the president at the time. But it's just like, listen, these commutations and pardons have been in. That's why they're there, to protect. So T Michael again. I'm going to.
We should know that because everyone from January 6th was pardoned, so we definitely know who gets protected.
You want to put people in jail for doing the
right thing,
upholding the laws.
Well, again, we don't learn from history because again, what did they do? Who they pick to get crucified?
Right, but it's all of this infighting.
Yeah,
and we're fighting with each other over, and the ones we're fighting with, they're not the ones making the decisions.
No, they're not.
But if we're fighting with each other,
it's shiny object.
Then the energy that you're expending to fight with each other, you can't use on me.
Yeah,
you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Go ahead, T.
Right, because I wanted to touch back on when from July 4th and all those incidents, Larry, when you mentioned when they did this press conference, who was called? My thing is, and where I'm steadfast and focused on, because when you listen to some of the folks who spoke, not the politicians or these other folks, but the young individuals, they're looking for opportunities. They're looking for a way out, not just to survive, but to live. we're offering a plan. We're offering one of the solutions that's needed in a billion-dollar industry. Why wouldn't people like us be called to the table and said, hey, listen, folks are looking for jobs, career, sustainable, financial, blah, blah, blah. Why wouldn't you call if you don't agree, but at least if someone has a solution, like the old Tip O'Neill, our politician, we don't agree with everything, but whatever we can agree upon, we can talk about that.
Mm-hmm. No,
Why
I mean,
wouldn't they bring people like us to the table?
Because see, you always need a population. It's just like, when they privatize prisons around, you need, then you need customers, right? So, Dr. Bradley can probably contest to this as well, is that during my whole career, I can count on one hand that someone that I arrested or that was out there selling drugs that had a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, a PhD, or were in a profession that they were willing to risk that for the minimum gains. And to your point, if you're offering, you approach some young person and you're saying, put down the gun and stop selling the weed, and I can get you a job at Walmart. And this kid is making hundreds of dollars or thousands of dollars in some cases a day. It's like an offset. And even offering them something at People's Academy, but they're saying, okay, this is a living wage. I can, it may not be what I'm making here, but my peace of mind, and I'm not destroying the community. I might look at that a little bit more seriously than you just telling me you're going to get me a job at Walmart. I'm not disparaging Walmart, but I mean, it's just not adding up.
But
Larry, I will say this much. A construction worker today, especially the trade we teach, makes more money than the regular street dealer.
Right. No, I'm saying it's a living. I think you said it's something to live.
But those jobs that T Michael is actually referring to
and creating
are not meant for people that look like us. They're meant for people that do not look like us. The jobs that are meant for people that look like us are the jobs that are paying low money,
right?
Or the pusher job, the drug dealer job that could get you back into a criminal justice system that's going to enslave you.
The same thing with policing, right? Is that the pay has gotten way better.
Yeah,
you're starting to see less of us.
Yeah.
And then when we do get in there, we're usually trying to find some way to weed us out of those positions.
So you have to understand, the system itself was created to mimic slavery.
Right.
Yes.
To slave institutions. So slavery didn't change in America. It's just morphed into something different.
Yes. No, they took off the physical chains and put on the mental chains.
Another way of looking at it is that they made it so that only the government could be the slave master, not the
individual. Exactly.
Right. Good point. Jamal, we got about 2 minutes for this segment. We're going to take it into the next hour anyways, because this is such an important topic. I want to give you the final words on in this segment of what we've been discussing.
No, I got a hit list. Like, So obviously the recent violence, but
No, we're gonna hold you on we're gonna take you into the next hour. You are our co-host today. We got an empty chair. We're putting you in it.
The police, the other officer who just got
arrested
caught up with the
domestic,
exactly, and then also too all these moves the Post has been making, where even like the state trooper who just did something. That folks didn't even know about. He tried to retire, but Post is still about to take his thing.
Right, they're decertifying.
There's a lot of stuff going on in the news.
No, and I think that's what like I said, I'm not defending the Post here, but I think a lot of times the Post has to depend on the law enforcement being honest brokers and abiding by the law and reporting within the 48 hours of these incidents. And they're trying, in some ways, when they think they're being cute, to try to cover it up. That's why BPD was trying to change when Eddie Crispin was up there in Internal Affairs. We're trying to modify some of the reports. And you see even one of the captain, Goggin, filed and said, I'm not changing. This is what happened. This is how it was reported. I'm not going to modify that because now you have to report this to Post. There's oversight. We want to protect certain people. Everyone should be treated the same. And this is why we're in the shape we're in. T, you get the last word for this block. Go ahead.
Yes, well, thank you. I think that we really have to do an independent roundtable discussion, bring those so-called leaders or whoever they are and the elected officials
I leave them out. Let's bring the community, because those are the ones who are going to, the politicians, if they empower themselves, the community, the politicians will come along. But go ahead.
A solution-based forum we need to have. Solution-based. Great show, and I will be listening.
All right. Thank you. Time passing.
Like 7 seconds.
Okay. All right. We're going to take our break. You've been listening.